Hi, and thank you for coming to my presentation about doctoral writing groups as vehicles for pastoral care and academic identity development. This presentation is a demonstration of recent research that I did with a group of PhD students who are shown on the screen. As I begin this session, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the lands on which I live, work, learn, and play, recognizing that sovereignty was never ceded. For me, these are the people of the Bunurong country, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and also acknowledge any traditional owners that may be with us today. So the PhD is generally a master and apprentice model, where students follow their discipline-specific supervisor around and through this practice, learn disciplinary knowledge. And this is where the pedagogical practice is focused. However, the lived experience of the PhD is much different for students in that they have a vast range of other things that they need to learn that is not explicitly taught. These are a range of transferable skills. They also need to undergo a series of personal growth and academic development journeys, and they need to navigate academia. So when I talk about identity and academic identity, I talk about that which is reflected in the stories that we tell to others and to ourselves about who we think we are not, and who we think we should be in the context which we find ourselves. So academic identity, therefore, is reflected in the narratives people use to describe themselves within the context of academia. And this acknowledges that identity is continuously reconstructed. And a PhD student's academic identity is shaped as they negotiate the various things that they have to do in the act of conducting research. And this includes navigating the discourses and master narratives that are present within academia. Another important thing to note is that academic writing can be considered as a form of identity work. Academic writing necessitates emotional investment. We write ourselves into our writing, and consequently, when we receive feedback that is negative, it can feel like a personal attack. And this can lead to significant writing anxiety and a sense of imposter phenomenon for PhD students. Additionally, the PhD is traditionally quite isolated, where the student predominantly works with their supervisors but do not really see many other students. And this is why the student-supervisor relationship is quite important, but it is worth noting that support from a variety of other sources is also necessary. And that connection and sense of friendship is really important in improving well-being and student satisfaction. And this we know from research in other areas. So it's important that we investigate how we can do this in the PhD space. So in my case, I decided to implement doctoral writing groups as a pedagogical innovation, which is focused on academic writing, but is designed to also build that social connection. So collegiality is a cornerstone of the doctoral writing groups, in that the meetings start with a collegial chat about what has happened in the past 2 weeks. It also embeds reflection. There is always reflection of what happened previously in the previous meetings and how that has helped or maybe not helped in their journey into the future. And then the majority of the session is focused on feedback and discussion. So this is where someone brings some writing and shares this for feedback. Everyone reads the text together, provides feedback and comments using Google Docs, and then discuss this feedback afterwards to explain why they said what they said. And so what happens in a doctoral writing group is that through this peer feedback discussion in the group, you develop this social practice where writing is no longer just for yourself, but it is for someone else. And this process leads to increased written output and increased writing confidence, as well as a decrease in anxiety. There's also an increase in accountability in terms of your reasons for the style and choice you made in your writing. And it helps people develop analytical and organizational skills to present those cohesive arguments. And all of this is underpinned by reflection throughout the process. So what I wanted to do is examine why it is that students stay in the writing groups. So I found that predominantly students join the writing group in their, say, first year when they want to improve their academic writing, yet they seem to stay throughout their whole candidature. And there seems to be some sort of affective benefit in these groups that isn't really quantifiable. And so what I wanted to do is explore that benefit in more details. So what we did is we created a collaborative autoethnography. And so this included a reflective prompting from the individual writing group participants and individual writing, and then group sharing and refining, and then eventually group-based writing for a collaborative autoethnography that was published. And through this process, we developed 2 themes that we discussed in the paper. The first is that writing groups foster a sense of belonging, and the second is that it helps in the development of an academic identity. So in terms of sense of belonging, as I mentioned before, the writing group is a space that is continuously built on this collegiality and reflection practice. And this creates a safe space, a space of security where people can share their experience and gain a sense of belonging. So we found that the shared stories, inclusivity, and emotional support that was provided by the writing group helped to create a space where experiences could be shared and valued. And in this place, they developed networks, friendship, and a sense that someone else was there to listen to their stories. And this created a sense of belonging. We also discovered that, yes, generally students join the writing group because they wish to invest time and energy into gaining the professional knowledge and skills in terms of communicating their research effectively. But then they discover that being part of the writing group gives them this space where they are provided with academic care and they feel more confident, which builds perceived self-efficacy. As a result, they decide to remain in the writing group because of these affective benefits that they discover. They feel valued, encouraged, guided, and supported, which helps to engender trust within the group, a sense of responsibility and reciprocity, which builds resilience and encourages persistence, particularly during challenging times in the PhD. Throughout the process of reflecting, they start to develop their own sense of who they are and where they belong within academia, so they develop their academic identity. And this encourages self-awareness and reflection and fosters well-being. It also inspires autonomy and problem-solving. And through this process, they learn to become part of academia because they start to understand where they fit and they start to understand the norms and expectations of the academy, which allows for academic socialization and builds social capital, encourages social competence, and fosters empowerment. So if you want to read more about this collaborative autoethnography was published open access and can be found on the International Journal of Doctoral Studies website. And these are the references that I talked about in this presentation if you'd like to know more about doctoral writing groups. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me via email, on Threads, or through my various social media channels. Thank you.